Hi, I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. And today's video may be a little controversial. We are going to look at the 2022 RX versus the new, fully redesigned 2023. But before I get into that video, make sure you go back and like and subscribe to our channel and check out some of our older content and also stay tuned for some new stuff coming down the pipeline. Okay, let's get right into it. So the white one behind me here is a 2022 F Sport Series 3 RX 350. And this one is the fully loaded version of it. First thing you'll notice when you look at both of them side by side, surprisingly, is actually the daytime running lights. So on this 2022, we see it's at the bottom of the light filament, and also the check mark is a lot more different than I expected versus the new design. It has sort of a bigger space here in the angle. Again, not a big deal. It looks gorgeous underneath the triple beam LED headlight design that, stayed true for so many years on the RX 350 lineup. A few other things to note is the headlight washer, which I don't know why I'm so obsessed with, but I always love when I see a car with that. Also, we have some F Sport spindle grille happening here. So, lots of sort of aggressive little hatch that's happening in the center of the grille as well as on the sides. And that's sort of wrapped up by this blacked out chrome, which I really like. I always like chrome, but I love blacked out chrome, and I think it makes it look really modern and sporty. Underneath that, we have a tiny little front spoiler diffuser with some fins there as well. You will notice when they redesigned this car in 2020, they made that front end just a little bit less aggressive. I don't know why, but on anything pre-2020, like the 2019s, 2018s, the F Sport had a much bigger lip under there. And I'm not too sure why, but it still looks amazing. We also have some lighting towards the bottom of that grille as well. And overall, just a great design. The hood-wise, you'll see the lines nicely line up to that of the upper portion of the grille. Not super aggressive. Maybe in a color like silver, you would see a little bit more of it, but still, it really shows you that the whole visual aspect of the car really starts at that front grille and widens from there. Now, the luxury and executive packages of the RX in this model year is very conserved. They're more of the straight kind of bar front ends. Some people loved the F Sport when it came out, some people hated it, and that's why they always made two different versions for that. But over to the 2023. So having them side by side, the first thing I noticed was that daytime running light. This one is an F Sport Series 2, so one step down from the white RX. And that daytime running light, it's weird because it's over top of the headlight itself, but it's underneath things like the indicator light and some of the four-ways and stuff like that. So it's more in the center, and you'll notice that space of the inside of that Lexus checkmark is a lot sharper, a lot smaller as well. So I don't know, tell me which one you guys like. I really like this new redesign. Looking at the rest of the bumper, so we have the F Sport Series grille. So again, super aggressive, but you'll notice it starts a lot lower because of this little nose piece here. And the interesting thing about the nose piece, when we get up and look at it, it's almost like the design engineers, it's almost like they were on the fence about it. And what I mean by that is if they decided to change this out and have that spindle kind of continue off there, it looks like it would have been done pretty easily. So I bet you there was iterations of this car that had that nose piece, didn't have that nose piece. I like it. You'll see when you get up close to it, it even has some shadowing of the grille sort of blend into it to have like a little bit of a seamless flow into that, upper bumper and hood. So really interesting there. We don't have a chrome frame around the bumper like we do on the other RX. And I also noticed the Lexus logo, we already know that it's heated from my other videos, but it's more straight up and down, where the Lexus logo on the previous RX was on a little bit of an angle. So that could be one of the reasons why Lexus decided to heat this one, because of the snow buildup and stuff like that too. Because we all know the radar cruise control sensor, among other goodies, are in there as well. We do have some more grille on the side, and also some extra body lines. Instead of just being flat, we have this piece here that sort of directs some of that airflow into that vent or above it, so that's really interesting. And a parking sensor is obviously hidden into that as well, with some lower spoiler pieces at the bottom that are body colored instead of, you know, just a matte gray or matte black, sorry, coloring. But overall, I think the new bumper, if you were to ignore the little nose piece that everybody's always talking about, I think it looks more aggressive with these bigger lines, with the way that the grille looks. I think it is aggressive. So maybe Lexus, when they designed it with that nose, maybe they decided to try to make it a little more subtle. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. So that flows up to this big body line here, which is a big drop off, and that goes up into the hood and past into the fenders. That lines up right to the top corner of the top of that grille. And like I said, it is a big swoop. So, you know, that gives it a lot of that aggressive front end looking. Now over to the side. Okay, so looking at the side profile of the 2023 RX to start, one of the biggest things, and this surprised me so much when the car came out, is the brakes. These are huge 6-piston caliper, massive rotors, kind of looks like a 3-piece rotor, but I don't know if it is, that creates so much stopping power. And it's interesting because the RX actually got lighter for the most part, unless you look at like the 500. But for the 350, it did get lighter, and now we have these massive brakes on the F Sport. So that's really cool to add a little bit of performance. Also, we got these massive 21-inch wheels that are kind of like a matte gunmetal gray, which is really cool. And the tires on these are pretty nice too. They're a Bridgestone mud and snow, from what I can tell. And they're super smooth, lots of grip, and just overall a great design. You'll notice the F Sport logo hasn't really changed. We have blacked out side view mirrors, and just the overall body is a little bit less sharp lines when it comes to like the extra body lines in a vehicle. Everything flows a little bit more, is a lot more rounded, say for like maybe that body line there. Overall, the RX on 2023 is a little bit wider, a little bit longer, and a little bit shorter because the wheelbase is a little bit bigger. One of the biggest changes to the whole car is the way the door handles work. So these are the electronic latch door handles, and on the interior is the bigger change for there. But overall, the doors feel really solid, both the front and the back. You know, you don't hear any tinniness or anything like that. Very happy because of that. Also, the fenders, fender flares, I don't know what you call those, are body color now instead of the matte gray or that matte black look. So that's kind of nice too. And there is a little bit of protection there kind of on the back, I'm guessing because of stone chips and stuff like that. Over to the 2022 RX. So the first thing to point out is it is a 20-inch wheel. These particular ones are the Michelins that came with it. Now, before anybody in the comments loses their mind, this is a pre-owned car, so there is a little bit of flaws here and there. You know, it didn't come from the factory this way. But yes, this is the Michelin tire on a 20-inch F Sport wheel, multi-spoke wheel, I guess you could say. That is a little bit more gray than it is dark. It is kind of like a pearl gray, I would say, with not big flakes in it, just little flakes to make it kind of, you know, have a little bit of texture there, which is nice. The fender flares are that matte, I call it matte black. Some people call it matte gray. I think it's matte black. So that's a nice way to protect the body lines, but you can't polish it. So, you know, some vehicle repair body shops do specialize in repairing that if you do have one of these and it has a scratch, but that is what it is. I've always loved the door handles on all of the RXs from, you know, 2016 and up. They have a really nice design to them, you know, a lot of shape to them. They're not just a boring door handle that you would find in every vehicle in the lineup. They're kind of nice. They have a nice lighting to them as well. And the door itself, super solid, right? Like I said, this is a pre-owned car, still sounds amazing. There's no tinniness to it. There is a lot of, you know, that nice solid thump, I guess you could say. We have black mirrors since it's the F Sport, and also the whole sort of window section is covered in chrome, which I should have pointed out on the 23. S Sport logo is the same on both of them. We have puddle lamps. And we have this little window here that sort of flows to the back. That was a big thing in 2016 when that came out, and they've sort of kept it since then. Okay, so looking at the back of the 2022 RX, one of the things I loved is always the taillights. So the taillights kind of remind me of the LC500 taillights, but you know, not as much depth to them. It's like someone squished them. So we have some layers to that gets smaller. It's like the Lexus logo, but they get smaller. And then that signal is underneath it, which is super sharp. We have some black chrome or some dark chrome, which is really nice. And above, we do have the older Lexus logo. And above the windshield is where the wiper is. So it's hidden and comes down and swipes. Some people said that that's for Canadian winter to keep it out of the snow. I don't think that's the case because the USA has the most RXs, and that, you know, it just looks good. Like, it's just sort of a stylish thing, I think. That's also functional, style and function. We have an F-Sport logo, the RX 350 logo, and then a little kind of bumper guard here that's chrome, so it doesn't match the chrome that you see up here or in the logo. It's just its own thing. But the chrome at the bottom of the bumper in the center matches this one, and then on the sides is a lighter chrome. We have a diffuser back there. We have those exhausts hidden into the bumper, which is great for future proofing because we know that hybrids and electric cars are becoming more common. And in the future, having those exhausts hidden will kind of make the car blend in with everything else on the road, in my opinion anyway. In the back, we have decent cargo space. It's a nice height to load things in and out of. You do lose a little bit of cargo space because of how angular this sort of roof line or hatch line is. So if you're gonna have anything tall in your trunk, you have to push it sort of to the back of the trunk up against those seats. But those seats do fold down flat, and there's a switch, because it's the S-Sport 3, in the back to be able to fold those down, which is nice. And we have a spare tire underneath this fake floor. Overall, you know, it does the trick, that's for sure. Also, when you go to walk away, you just hit the one lock button twice, I think it is, and you can walk away and it'll lock for you. Over to the 2023. So the 2023, the taillight, actually the whole vibe of the back end is so different from that 2022. You'll notice that taillight is very different. It's more that singular taillight design. It looks so sharp in person. We also have the new Lexus logo, LEXUS, that we've seen on the NX, the LX, all of those cars. And just overall, it looks different. When you're up close to it, it seems like a bigger back end. Technically, it has more cargo space than the previous generation, but I'm a little skeptical because when I looked at the specs, it makes it look like it has double the cargo space, which I don't know if they changed how they measure it, but it is something to point out. We have that wiper hidden at the top as well. At the bottom, we are seeing a lot more of that matte black sort of bumper guard. So pretty much that whole section at the bottom is that. It's very soft, and we have just a little bit of grills happening on the sides, and you'll notice there's no real exhaust port on this car. There really isn't. On the other one, it was sort of integrated. This one, it's fully hidden. There is none. And again, back to that future-proofing thing about those electric cars. A little bit of decoration venting on the side. And let's take a look on the inside. You'll notice also, that opens a lot quicker and smoother. It's really fast. So we still have a little bit of a hatch line here, but it's not nearly as much. So maybe that's where they're making up for that cargo space. But it is absolutely ginormous here. In the S-Sport Series 2 package, you do have these power folding seats, so you don't have to go all the way to the F-Sport 3 to get the fully loaded one. We have a little storage here and still a spare tire on the gas model, which is nice. And yeah, overall, just a really nice looking back end of a vehicle. I can't say that enough. I think with the new RX, one of my favorite angles is the back. Looking at that back, I think it looks very high end. More high end than the price would allude to. So if someone asked me, give me 3 reasons to pick the new 2023 RX, all of my main reasons would be interior based. And that's because it is such a pleasure to sit inside the new 2023 RX. This one has the Rioja Red, which has some Alcantara microfiber type, I think it's called Ultra Suede trimming, so it's not just the leather, it also has some of that going on, which adds a nice comfort feel when you're sitting in it. But also the seats themselves have been greatly improved. I've heard this from so many guests coming from the previous model F Sport into the new one. The seats, I don't know, maybe they seem bigger, maybe there's more to them, but they're absolutely amazing. The center has the armrest that opens from both sides. And overall, the interior is very simple and calming to look at. We have some really nice trim. It's sort of like a modern plastic with some texture to it. It's smooth to touch, but it looks like it would be, you know, softer with some rivets and stuff like that. We have a couple USB-Cs there, a wireless charger in the front console, which is nice. And we still have the cup holder spot where you can push it down to make it deeper on both RXs, which is nice. The screen is the new Lexus interface, which is amazing. I use Android Auto all the time, and this is, you know, a big improvement from using like the old built-in navigation. It's super HD, it's really easy to touch and very quick to respond. Also, we have ambient lighting that you can change now in the RX. So we can change the colors, change the mood in here. It's not super bright, but it does the trick. Also, some suede on the doors, and the electronic latch to get out of the interior is my favorite part about any of this. So being able to exit and, you know, do it in one motion instead of pulling a handle and pushing out is really nice. We also have some customizable steering wheel controls that show up on the heads-up display. And like I said, I could go on and on. I'm not going to. You get the point. But the interior is where it's at, Lexus. You did a great job. The back seat of the 23 RX, lots of amenities back here. We now have heated and cooled seats, where you weren't able to get cooled seats in the previous RX, even in the fully loaded. All those switches are right here, which is nice, and we can also control our own climate control. We have some fast USB-C chargers, some venting. Also, even the seats back here have that ultra suede trim, which is great. The seat in front of me looks like it's really close to me because when I shut off the car, it moved back. But, you know, there is still lots of room. The center has cup holders as well as a little storage space. Not sure what you would put there because, you know, when you fold it up, it's gonna go away, but it still works. And yeah, overall, some great space, lots of headroom. The panel roof is a nice touch in the F Sport 2 as well. Okay, so sitting in the 2022 RX, I've been so used to the 23 lately that there are some things I forgot about. One is the aluminum trim that you see sort of all around the vehicle. How it feels like metal, which I really like. And it also is very modern. There is some texture to it, which is cool. Also, there's more angles in here than I remembered. So, you know, all this part kind of flows down and has like a little wall here. Also, we have a cell phone holder, a couple nice cup holders, very similar to the other one. The wireless charger on the 22 is actually in your sight, which, you know, sounds like it might be a distraction, but really, at least you'll remember your phone is sitting there. There's so many times that I get into work, get up to a boardroom, realize my phone is in my car because it was hidden and I couldn't see it. So that's really nice having that in display. We do have the Lexus remote touch. So that's that little mouse in the middle here, and as well as a touchscreen. Now, some people have reviewed the RX and not loved this touchpad. I find it takes more than a couple days to get used to, but once you get used to it, it is super nice to use, especially when you can just touch it as well. And once you set up all your presets and everything, it's even better. Now, this center opens up this way and you can remove to clean, and also there's a little bit of storage underneath there. This little spot to rest your hand doesn't move, but it is there and it is comfortable. Also, the system itself, you can do split screen, it has built-in navigation. Again, all that stuff is from the older model, but it still works and still stays relevant. And you don't even need your phone connected to be able to use things like navigation, which is a nice touch. Otherwise, everything sort of hugs you. There is a lot going on, I'll be honest. There's buttons everywhere. There is a lot of different layers to the dash, but it's sporty and nice. And this is the circuit red interior, which is a little bit brighter than the Rioja red. So nice little change there as well. So in the back of the 2022 RX, we have lots of space. I have lots of space in front of me, lots of space above me. We do have heated seats back here for the two outside seating. And we do have two 2.1 amp USBs in the center. They're not the USB-Cs, but I'm sure you have a cord for both. Some venting in the center, as well as cup holders and a little center pocket. So still a few things to do back here. Maybe no cooled seats, but I mean, it's still overall great for passengers. Okay, so what about the elephant in the room? The powertrains. Now, I've done the research, I've looked at all the numbers. The white 2022 has a 295 horsepower V6 3.5 liter engine mated to an 8-speed transmission. Now, this is an engine we've had for years in the Lexus lineup. It's tried, it's true. It takes regular gas, which is great. It's very smooth. It sounds great when you accelerate, but obviously it was time to change things up because in the 23, we have a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with a reported 275 horsepower and over 300 pounds of torque. So on paper, they're very, very close, 295 versus 275, with more torque out of the turbocharged engine and overall a lighter vehicle with the new one. At least 100 pounds, maybe it's 200 pounds, I can't remember. Now, when you're driving them, it's not all about numbers. So the V6 feels like a smooth V6. The 4-cylinder feels like a high performance 4-cylinder. So it's gonna be so much about preference. I love both of them, you guys. I can't decide which one I would choose if I was the engineer at Lexus International, whoever designed it. I've always loved the V6, but this new 4-cylinder is a blast to drive. The way the torque's delivered, the high revving, the fuel economy, it does take premium gas, but maybe it's time we take these two to the track and see which one is faster, which might be a video in the future, so make sure you hit subscribe. So it's going to be about preference for sure. There's a lot of great things about the old body style. There's a lot of great things about the new body style. So let me know below which one you would choose and be open-minded about it. And maybe come test drive both if you're interested, because we have some pre-owned ones. So thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Mason here at Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Remember, we are a real dealership with real cars for sale. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out. And otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.